Sam. Sam. I love this name, Sam, man. So American name.
Do you think?
I think so, man.
Okay. I'll try and put an American accent on then.
Welcome to Las Vegas 2022 London International Awards.
Thank
We're here at Ocean 15, and I'm about to cross your ocean. How does it feel to be in Vegas, by the way?
It's cool, isn't it? It's a mad place. It's very different to anything in England, that's for sure.
Oh, that's for sure, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's quite different from, like, the England, like, composure.
Yeah, it's my second time here. I came here once to do this. Oh my God, 16 or something.
Yeah.
But still coming here. It's warm. It's crazy town. Yeah, very
If-
bright.
Look, like, I know that this question is not here, but you have an amazing, like, company that, like, specializes in what sound design. If there was a sound that make you think of Vegas, what would that be?
Slot machine.
Slot machine, right? Like, of course.
I mean, that's a bit
mean-
basic, isn't it? But I've just walked past 1,000 slots to get here, so yeah, I think that would be. Ask me in another few hours, it might be another thing, but yeah, slots,
Slot machine.
or people cheering. There was a ball game on last night, and there was massive sports bar, and them all shouting at the screen. That was quite impactful.
Wow.
But yeah.
Okay, look, I'm gonna use the 7 Seas interview to
Yeah.
cross your ocean. It's like 7 questions,
Mhm.
like the 7 Seas. We go from the first to the 7th. You ready?
Good.
Let's go.
Go on.
200 million years ago, the world map saw all the continents assembled together, and it was like the Pangea era. The continent have been shifting farther apart, but give Earth a few 100 million years more, and they're gonna come back together. So somehow, like, history and time work like these, like, weird accordions.
Mhm.
They fall apart, they come back together, fall apart, come back together. I mean, you work in advertising, you have like an amazing, like, sound design company, but you work with advertising agency anyway, like, on a daily basis. I was like, just offline, you were telling me that that's pretty much your bread and butter.
Mhm.
When you look at the field, the environment where you are in, do you think that it is completely fragmented, or is more like it feels like we are all one, like the Pangea? Because I feel like when I started in advertising, of course, there was less of everything,
Mm.
but I felt that we went through lots of agency, then a period where agencies were like merging together, and then again lots of agencies, literally like this, like the fragmentation and like recomposing together, like an accordion.
Mm. Yeah, I don't think it's that fragmented. It feels more together now than it used to, just because of maybe the pandemic and stuff. I feel that we were always quite global as a company and working with lots of people everywhere, but I think it's become more so after everyone getting so used to working remotely, and now we've all gone back to, well, people are coming back to sessions more, but I think we're now working still more with people abroad, so I feel less fragmented maybe now than it used to, and that there is more connection to different agencies. There might be more of them all, but I think we're kind of got more connections and more people.
What
to
is
work
your
with.
background, by the way? Are you a sound engineer?
Yeah, sound designer is my. I mean, I think my official title is sound supervisor now, or
Right.
supervising sound designer. But I'm a sound designer and a mix engineer, re-recording engineer.
So let me ask you this, because like, I look like through the eyes of a writer. So everything's like, even when I work globally, for me it's always language, like, I fell in love with different words like on a daily basis. When you work globally and your whole, like, environment is about sound, do you think of different countries with different sound? How do you look like a globality? Do you use sound to different, like, from nation to nation, from country to country?
Well, the obvious things, there's obvious stuff, obviously, like, countries with different sirens or different phone rings or different things that are specific to countries. Like sirens is one that'll catch you out quickly, like ambulances and police stuff.
Right.
So there's that sort of stuff. But I think sound as a language is quite universal, the way we approach sound design stuff, just because of movies and TV shows now and the kind of the standards that they're at. And also ads are so global. So I think there's a single kind of broad language of sound design that kind of translates to all countries, but then I think you pick up specifics, things that you might only know if you live in those countries or have visited those countries.
It's awesome. And I pay attention to the sirens, though.
sirens.
But no, it's true. It's true now that I think about it, because like police sounds way different in America than like in Italy.
I was standing by a fire station when I was just in LA, and literally the thing that just got me every day was the sound of the siren. It's just not what they sound like at home. And I was literally just sitting there, just thinking, just clocking it, just going, yeah, log that, log that, log that, and you just make a mental notepad of what things sound like. So when you're asked to do something, you're like, yeah, I know what that sounds like. You can just pull it back.
So
out.
interesting, man. Okay, second question. I want to stand as close to the edge as I can without going over. On the edge, you see all kind of things you can't see from the center. These are the words of like Kurt Vonnegut, one of my favorite writers, very influential writers of our generation. Whenever they come to my mind, I picture myself standing on a cliff, ocean below my feet, and I see things. Now, if you were to apply this metaphor to the work that you do on a daily basis, and you were pitching yourself to stand close on the edge, what kind of future you see for sound design in advertising?
Oh, it's a tricky question, that, isn't it? Predicting the future. I mean, I think it's always going to play a really strong part, especially with technology moving forward, and you know the way that kind of immersive audio and Atmos and stuff like that has kind of come through in the last few years, and I think people's home systems are getting better and better and better. So therefore, the potential that you have to give an audience or a viewer with your sound design. Do you
think that, for instance, because you know, sound, when we think of sound, it's sound applied to the world we live in, which is the only world we know. This, like where we are here, this space, this room. If these podcasts were to take place on the moon, like I wouldn't know what sound to apply to, right? So like, do you think that since we are going into the metaverse, and maybe like 30 years from now, there's gonna be different environment where like our interaction is gonna happen? Maybe there's gonna be a totally different set of sounds that we would never think about it right now. Right now I know how it sounds like if you're gonna stand up from that chair. But what if that chair was like in a totally different environment?
Yeah.
How does this sound?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get your point. Yeah, I mean, it could be very different depending on where we are. Or
you got me when you say, which I love it, you say like sound is a language.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, we're talking about offline a little bit how I do feel that sound design is always considered as like an afterthought, but it's like it's such a powerful statement. It is a language, and I think it follows the same rule of our language, right? If you were to go to a different country, you speak a different language, and as you say, like you go to America, sirens like sound differently than like UK. That's a different way the sounds speak. I don't know. I get lost in my thought, man. I'm so fascinated by the fact that you work in sound. Okay, look, we are in the middle of the ocean. It's night, pitch dark. Instead of telling you a story, as always happen, I'm gonna tell you like a fact. There is a path that you can take around two moving black holes that haven't quite collided yet, where you are going to end up in the past of where you start the journey. It's trippy. I'm not gonna ask you to do any drugs to give me an answer.
Okay.
I'm sorry, we don't have mushrooms here. But, you know, now imagine taking this path and ending up in the past, right when you start your journey.
Yeah.
What's your first memory that comes to mind?
Do you know, I was thinking about this earlier. I think my earliest memory that I still think about constantly now is something that I learned before I was on my path to sound design. So I grew up in a house of, everyone in my family works in production, in either film or TV production. And something I got drummed into me as a child was you're only as good, they're all freelance, I should add. And something that got drummed in mainly by my mother was you're only as good as your last job. And so essentially, forget everything else. So every single job I do is, if I accept a job, I'm always as good as just the last thing I did. I put everything into every job, and I think that is something that has stuck by me for a long time.
Did he help your drive? Did he motivate you?
I think it helps me. It just means when I commit to stuff, I commit to stuff. I either don't
100%.
do it or I do it, and if I do it, you get everything. and I think that is the
I like that, man. We have the same saying, like in advertising, when it comes to like copywriting. They say like you're as good as your last headline.
hmm
But I think that it's definitely something that can truly motivate you. It can push you to give like 100%. Sometimes it makes me sad though. I don't know why. It's like sometimes I feel depression of living up to expectations all the time.
yeah
You know what I mean? It's like
yeah
it's a oh man, it's tough. Like, it sounds really good
hmm
as a line, and if you stick to it, like it motivates you, but it's tough to live up to it.
yeah. I was watching a podcast last night about rise and grind culture of like always getting up and always performing, and they were talking about some interesting stuff like that. But saying that, in answer to your question, that is the thing that has stuck with me for a long time,
Yeah.
and you're judged on the last thing you did, and it's just the nature of the world,
Yeah.
or at least
right.
my world.
Fourth question, this is about Bansky. Dismaland was a temporary art project organized by street artist Bansky in seaside resort of Weston-super-Mare in Somerset, England.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure I'm not pronouncing this right. Tell me how-
Western Supermare.
Oh man, Weston-super-Mare.
Yeah.
It was a sinister twist on Disneyland. Among the art pieces, there was a coin-operated dreamboat. And if you were to take a sinister twist on the world of sound design, a music engineer, and invite on your dreamboat someone who can help you bring this cynical and disillusioned-like vision to life, who would the person be?
Man, that's such a tough question, isn't
I
it?
know.
It's such a tough
I
question.
know, but let me tell you, like I always thought, like sometimes I think like about, wouldn't it be freaking cool if like I'm just like sailing on some freaking river and the captain of the boat is Dennis Hopper. But Dennis Hopper in the 70s, not Dennis Hopper like late in life, like
Yeah.
when he was like doing all kind of
Yeah.
drags. And who would that person like to make like let's create some like
I tell you, the person who is an electronic music producer who actually I knew when I was younger, I still know a bit, whom I think makes the coolest, maddest, techiest, futuristic sounds, a guy called Dave Tipper. And so if I wanted someone help to build a crazy future with me, that would be the person.
what kind of futuristic sound? When you say futuristic sound, like can
It
you?
sounds like I can't even. I like going back to that thing earlier you said about hearing sounds that you're not used to,
Right.
and he makes sounds that don't exist before he made them, and so that would be good for the future.
That's beautiful definition. A sound that didn't exist before he made it, until he made it.
Yeah.
Isn't
So-
that awesome?
I'm
It's true, because we go through life, when you think a language, we throw through life using words that have been there forever, right? It's all
Mhm.
about, if you know the word, you don't know the word, but the word is there for you to pick it up. So you're
Mhm.
not inventing anything. And sound too, you just like, just like applying what you hear. But to
Mhm.
make a sound that you haven't heard anywhere,
Mm.
it's pretty
Cool, huh?
impactful.
Yeah. Yeah. You should check his work out. It's definitely that would be a good person to build a crazy future with.
A crazy future. Love
Yeah.
it, man. Look, we are on the set of Eyes Wide Shut, the latest masterpiece of Stanley Kubrick. Kidman and Cruise, the actor chosen by Starling, have traveled a transatlantic land, and they settled in London for 9 months. Remember, that movie was like
Mhm.
extenuating for them,
Mm.
exhausting. Upon completing the piece and returning to the States, they both were asked like millions of questions, what they learned from Stanley. And Nicole Kidman recounts an episode where she asked the meaning behind the scene to Stanley Kubrick.
Mhm.
And he actually got very irritated with her. And he got irritated because sometimes you are always asked why. Sometimes either there is no why or you don't want to give the why.
Mm.
Now I'm asking you, you work in a field, we work in a field where I feel constantly we are asked why. There is a why for every single action you take. You
Mm.
can't go a day without saying, why not? Clients always want to hear why. All want to have, can you give me a rationale because of that? How do you go about it? So, I mean, how do you actually deal with the whys when you come to your work?
Yeah. I mean, I get asked why a lot less than maybe other people in other disciplines or maybe in advertising itself. I don't often get asked the question why, and normally my response would be because it's right.
Because it's right.
Yeah.
Do you have problems sometimes where you say because it's right, and like someone can tell you like what's right? Is there like an objectivity to sound?
Of course, it's all objective, subjective, whatever you want to say. There is no right or wrong, but it's like essentially if someone hires me to do a job and they said, "Why did you do that?" I said, "Because I think it's right."
That's the ultimate freedom. Sometimes, like, I guess like there is an objective to sound that is denied to the idea itself. If I present an idea to a client and the client say why, I could never immediately answer like because it's right, based on what is right. But if you come to me and you say, and I say to you, why is that? You just moved the chair. Why does it sound like that? You can tell me because that's how it sounds. Because it's right.
Because that's what I think is right. And like I stick by that. That's I do what I think is right. If you disagree with me, then that's cool. It's a collaboration. But if you want me to do something, I'll do it. And you ask me why I did it. I wouldn't do it because I think it was wrong.
It's awesome. Hey, look, there is one thing that I always meant to ask you. Like, I was waiting for this question. I want to bring the story of like Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, like a song by the Beatles. Like, it's such a great titles. And I remember during the Dick Cavett show, like someone asked, John Lennon, like, how did you come up with that title? Like, if it was like some sort of mushrooms, like involved or psychedelic. It was like, no. It just actually came from like, my child one day. Came home with a design, a drawing of someone flying, and I asked him, who is this? And it was like, this Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. So it was like very like basic explanation. Now, I don't know why, but when they told me like, hey, there is going to be the president of the jury, like, Sam Ashwell, from 1750 miles per hour. I was like, holy shit, man. It's like, my mind always went to motorcycle because I ride motorcycle. Yeah. It's like, that's like pretty fucking fast. So how do you guys come up with that name, and what's the reason behind the name?
It's going to be a basic answer as well for this.
No, don't give me the basic answer. Make up a story for me.
I give you what it is. It's the speed of sound.
Okay.
It's the speed of sound, but obviously the speed of sound changes with humidity and altitude.
Okay, stay here. Stay. Oh, wait. Sam, don't just like drop me this gem and just walk out. Stay here. So you're telling me that 750 is the speed of sound, which is okay, but I didn't know that the speed of sound is actually changed with humidity and altitude.
Yeah.
I knew kind of altitude, but I'm shocked. Why would it change with humidity?
I mean, I don't know physicist, but I'm guessing it'll be to the thickness of the air, and so the time it takes to travel through, because isn't humidity is water content, isn't it? And so therefore the air will be thicker. Wow. That's a guess, and it could be completely wrong, but I do know that it changes with humidity.
And 750 is like in the perfect condition?
At sea level, it's like 753 point something, but that's not a very cool name, is it?
You guys are not even at sea level. You guys are in the city. What's the speed of sound in the city?
Let me come back to you for part 2.
Ah, man, I love it. Hey, I gotta say that I'm fascinated. We almost done. I have the last question for you, but I want to say before the last question, I'm fascinated by sound and what you do.
Thank you.
I don't know. We're just talking about like even before offline. I was telling you like some of the scene in the movie, but it's like I always like pay like so much attention to sound. It's like it's beautiful. Like it's truly like without sound would be nothing.
Yeah.
Truly nothing.
No, I'm obviously a huge fan of it. I think it brings a lot to it.
Of course.
A lot.
Okay, so when did you get here?
Vegas yesterday.
Yes, so you probably haven't formed many, like, much memory, yes, right? Like, you haven't formed many memories. So bear with me. Maybe I ask you, like, to stretch a little bit far. But let's say, like, when are you going to fly back again? Saturday?
Saturday via LA, yeah. So I'm out of here Saturday morning.
Yeah, okay. So Saturday, you're going to pack your stuff. You're going to head back to London. Like, I'm going to ask you to pick up, like, 2 memories. I know that you just forming these memories. No. Wait, but I need you to put this memory, one in your carry-on and one in your luggage. And then, like, you have to tell me whichever goes where and why.
look, I did this a few years ago, so I've got some idea of the memories I'm going to build. I think one of the best memories will be, and was before and will be again, is the discussions. The discussion with people. I'm a sound designer and a mixer, but you know, I'm across the category that includes music and like re-records and sync and licensing. And of that, I have obviously a keen interest and a knowledge of, but I wouldn't put myself as much of an expert as other people in the room that we're going to be judging with as tomorrow.
Right.
And the conversations that I have about other people's fields and stuff that I obviously am across, but you know, just those discussions and the whys and why they think it's worthy of a statue or why it isn't worthy of it, and what makes a good re-record and what makes a good license track or sync or whatever. So that is something that I know I'm going to enjoy. I quite enjoy those situations.
Love it, man. Hey, it was a pleasure to talk to you. I mean, I never met you. This was the very first time,
Yeah,
and I had to say I wasn't like, because like, you know, probably like we haven't had the chance to work together, but now I know that 750 is the speed of sound at sea level.
there you go.
753. Thank you so much, brother.
Cheers, boss. I probably got so many things wrong there, what it was, but you know.